everyone hit the ceiling, it's $310,000 of costs that the employee would absorb through co-pays, and the claims would then be paid by the carrier. So it's not a dollar for dollar switch, and in offering two options, we were able to drive down the cost a little bit. We can look at other options as well, but the reason that there was two benefit offerings with a significant difference in the out-of-pocket from $400 to $2,000 and $400 per person to $4,000 was to give people the ability to make their own election, to decide that whatever percentage I'm paying, I would rather take more responsibility and have a secondary option rather than only providing one chute for everyone to run through. Any other questions?
I appreciate you getting this out so we could study it at time.
Well, we apologize that one of the things that we talked about in advance of this is from a procedural perspective, we will not be in this position again. We now have medical applications that are online that we will only have to update year over year. Standard practice is renewals issued 60 days in advance of the effective date. We'll have the applications completed next year before the renewals issued, and we'll have much more time. So I too want to apologize for the delay in this. And as the chief said, it was out of the committee's hands and out of the city's hands as well.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
I believe that's it for me.
Very good. Any questions on the bill list for the April 15th bill list?
Point of order, Mr. Mayor, if we get back up to the liquor auction.
Yeah.
Past practice has been that council has made a motion on whether they want to have a hearing. I have to sign this document and send it back to the state telling me whether to request a hearing or not.
That's what is
I make a motion, we have a hearing.
I'll second that.
And then we typically vote that down if we do not want to have it. Becker?
Yes.
We typically vote it down if we don't want to have it.
Excuse me. Resend it, no.
Souter?
I'll fall, actually, no.
McBain?
No.
Schwanniger?
No.
Cavalinger?
No.
Simpson?
No.
Mr. Simpson taught me motions always have to be in the affirmative.
Okay, and there was no questions on the bill list, so we're going to move into old business. Due to the length of the ordinances, I have a motion to read them by title only.
So moved. Second.
Deanne?
Souter?
Yes.
McBain?
Yes.
Schwanniger?
Yes.
Cavalinger?
Yes.
Simpson?
Yes.
Becker?
No. The reason I'm saying that is because there were some points in those that were missed the last time, and I feel that, the folks in the audience have spent lengthy time here should be able to hear all of that, and each and every word of that. So that's why I'm voting no.
I intend to read the full one for the ones that was changed.
Thank you.
Okay, ordinance number 14-0-2760, second reading. An amending ordinance establishing a surcharge of $11 for users, customers of the water system of the city of Columbiana and repealing ordinances in conflict herewith. This is the one I believe would be in question.
Yeah.
You want me to read the whole?
No, as long as that part was changed, we're okay.
I'm going to read,
You read it anyway?
once you do the if you're gonna do a motion in a second, I plan on reading it just so they know that what
Do
was
it.
changed. What, in the last meeting, if anyone wasn't here, there was a question in regards to the $11 surcharge stated that it was to pay for healthcare, salaries, and everything but the new water plant.
That's not true.
No, it had capital improvement.
Capital improvements.
It didn't specifically state that it was for the new water plant.
It said it was for capital improvements. So.
Regardless, we asked for that to be changed to,
Just a point of order here. The ordinance that you have is as it was written before. You read it by title only. If you want to amend it, you can, but reading it in full is pointless. Because
Yeah, you're reading the same thing.
You're reading the caption, right, which has nothing to do with the substance of the ordinance. But if you want to change the caption, you can. But you're voting on whether or not to pass it as it was originally read. Or you can amend it, but reading it counts, not making it.
I'll read this so that you can make the amendment as potentially rewritten here. I would ask that someone make an amendment to change it to say, whereas the City of Columbiana Council has made a determination that a surcharge of $11 needs to be imposed upon users of the city water system in order to accommodate a portion of the anticipated cost of the pending water treatment plant project. Now therefore be it ordained by the Council of the City of Columbiana, County of Columbiana, State of Ohio, Section 1, that Section 9 of Columbiana City Ordinance number 93-0-1367 shall be and hereby is amended. The rest of it could stay the same, but that section would amend what was voted on last week.
Okay, the procedure would be to,
There is no motion to amend.
yeah, first we have to have the motion to approve the ordinance, and then,
You can
And then
amend
we
it if you
can-
want to.
If you want to amend it after that.
and then we
you
can amend it before we vote on the final approval. So,
That's to you.
that's, I think, that's the proper procedure.
That's
Dean?
correct.
Okay. So I'll move that we approve the ordinance.
I'll second.
Under discussion, I'd like to talk a little bit then about it before we make it way out. I did some financial calculations. Putting this $11 charge on ahead of time, it will be approximately 2 years before we probably have to make the first payment. And under those calculations, in that time, we would collect more than $1 million to put towards this water plant. Now, if you take that $1 million and you pay it, didn't gather that money ahead of time to put down, here's what it would cost. It would cost, to pay off that $1 million, it would be $3,297.80 a month, at 2.5% for 40 years, for a total payment on that $1 million of $1,582,560. The first year, the first month would be $25,000 interest. So by saving this money ahead of time, we save $582,560 by having $1 million to put down on the water plant. And I was confused on the, Brian, maybe you can explain to me, on the front page of the paper, you said you didn't want to be associated with this payment. And then at the next meeting, you said that the school and us didn't save money towards things. Here's a way we can save $500,000
I said I
by
would
starting ahead of time.
You gonna put words in my mouth?
No.
Or are we gonna let the press put words in my mouth?
No.
I think what I said, first of all, I was not in agreement with the $11 fee. I asked that we make it $5. But then whenever you went forward with the $11 fee, what I said I wouldn't put my name on was any language that would be for healthcare and salaries and not having to do with what we suggest we're saving it for. And I still won't.
I respectfully disagree. On the front page of the paper, you said you didn't want to be associated with it, but
I didn't write the article again.
Mayor, I did hear you say you wanted no
I did
part of
too.
the whole thing.
I did too.
But, so,
Again,
But anyhow,
Katie did a
as I
good
say,
job of reporting it.
I'm not gonna put my name on it if it's not amended. You don't have to.
Anyhow, you don't have to put your name on it. Anyhow, by collecting $1 million ahead of time, over the term of the loan, you save over $500,000 by putting that much down. It comes to a savings over the 40 years of $1,664 per family in Columbiana by collecting it ahead of time and putting the money down rather than borrowing that $1 million.
And since we're talking those size numbers, I would urge you to also go with the United Healthcare plan then tonight that will save an additional $368,000.
Mr. Mayor, I have a question. I think either to Mike or, if I can, either Mike or Lance, I think they can answer, or you, Mr. Mayor. There was an independent committee that came back to this body. I fortunately didn't get a report or wasn't here. What was the dollar amount that they recommended?
$21.
$21. So that $21 that this independent committee recommended, that the bill, that the water bill should be raised by $21.
That's surcharge.
Okay, surcharge. If you don't raise that $21, it sounds like you're going to vote tonight on the $11. So either you'll go yes or no. The mayor wanted 5. So if you don't vote on the $11 tonight, or you don't vote on the other $11 that they recommended, how does that, Mike, how does that affect us borrowing money for the plan?
Well, part of it is, you know, what the bids came in at were a lot higher than expected, so that it's gonna go back out for bid at some point in time. They were having a meeting with our bidders this week, I believe. Depending on where the bids would come in, it would depend on how much we'd have to come up with additional capital, and that would be borrowing the money.
Well, I guess what I'm saying is, you tell me if I'm wrong, but the people who are gonna loan you money to build this, I don't know what forms that comes, forget, bonds and municipal, whatever. They're not gonna allow you to borrow money unless the citizens are paying what they feel is an adequate
Correct. And
bill.
they
In
wanna
other words, they're
see-
not gonna subsidize the citizens just so they can have a cheaper water bill. Is that correct? And I'm not, this is not my opinion, this is what I understand.
Well, they want to see that the city has the ability to pay back the loan.
Okay. Will we be able to pay back the loan if we do not eventually vote to $21?
Depending on the. It depends on how much the loan would be,
Right.
and we've already refused that amount. The 21 was set on the amount that we've refused.
So that study was hypothetical,
It was based on something we've already refused because it cost too much.
so we don't know what that number is.
No, not at this point.
So this $11 is kind of a,
Well, this is gonna save us, it may be enough.
okay, but we should all be ready to maybe hear this conversation again.
The language already has 6 months from now.
Okay. So by not passing tonight,
We're gonna have to pass it eventually.
I don't think anyone up here is saying not to pass it. All we're talking about was the original language at the first reading of this stated that the $11 was to pay for, you want to say capital improvements, and also had the language of healthcare costs and salaries. And if we're setting aside the $11 to pay for the water plant, it's not to pay for healthcare and salaries. So I asked that we change that line. Yeah, I'm satisfied with what this states. Let's see.
Tom, if I may, I made the original motion to put the $11 on. Before I made the motion, I asked Lance to talk to the United States Department of Agriculture to have them give us some indication as what we needed to do in order to ensure that we would get the loan to buy the water plant. They come back with an agreement of $11, and in 6 months put on $4 more, and 6 months later, another $4. I made the motion that way. Council amended that motion, taking the 4 and 4 off, and look at it in 6 months. So that's how we get to where we are tonight.
and you're gonna have a better idea of what the actual costs are gonna be in 6
Yes.
months?
Potentially.
Yes.
Well, potentially not, if we haven't received a bid back yet.
Can I say something?
Sure.
Has this property even been purchased yet?
Yes.
Property tax.
The property has been purchased? Okay, so what is the expectations of this plant up and running at 100%? How many years? Do you have any idea?
If everything went well, as we said, it would, we would put it in operation probably 24 or 30 months, I'm guessing. To start with a new water plant.
Within 2 years?
Yeah.
Okay, and that's with the $21.
The
No.
finish, no,
Well, the last meeting I was at, you proposed 11, 5, and 5.
But that was
4 and
turned
4.
down.
11, 4 and 4, it's 6 months and 6 months.
Okay, I heard 5 and 5, but I don't know. So it's at 11, that's where you're gonna keep it?
No.
We're gonna look at
The
it again.
motion is to, the ordinance reads today, $11.
Okay,
In 6 months, we'll look at it to see where we're at. Maybe we'll have some idea what's coming in, as far as the bids are, or the cost, okay? And maybe we don't have to put the second
okay.
increase on, or the first, maybe we don't need to put the 4 on, maybe we need to put 5 on. But right now, we are putting some money aside to pay for this. As Lowell has said, it's going to save us money by saving money up front.
Okay, but yet, we don't even know who's gonna build this plant.
Not yet.
So what is the time period of that gonna be?
It's 18 months to build the plant, just to build.
Yes, sir, I understand that, but when are we gonna know who's gonna build the plant?
Well, when next time it goes out to bid, which we have to wait for our data to get the bid package back together.
So
and
that
that's what we're working on right now.
so there's no clue how long this is gonna,
I mean, we would really hope to have some information within 6 months.
6 months? Okay, but once this plant gets up and running, it's still gonna be going through water lines that's 50, 60, 100 years old.
Yeah, yeah.
We're not changing no water lines.
There are some water lines for the lift stations, or pumping stations, booster stations, and wells that we're going to be shipping the water to the water treatment plant. So there is some piping involved. But the infrastructure that you're talking about runs out.
Right, it's
front
just
out.
like the sewer lines that's been there
Right.
when you updated this, okay.
Yeah.
All right, thank you, appreciate that.
I'd call for the question.
Well, I'd like to make a motion that we amend it to read, whereas the city council has made determination that the surcharge of $11 needs to be imposed upon users of the city water system in order to accommodate a portion of the anticipated cost of the impending water treatment plant project. That was not the way it was originally written.
It already says, though, it kept for capital improvements.
Well, I'm making the motion, it's up to someone to second it, we can either vote it up or down.
Say it again.
Whereas the city council has made determination that a surcharge of $11 needs to be imposed upon users of the city water system in order to accommodate a portion of the anticipated cost of the pending water treatment plant project.
Second.
Any questions? Deanne?
Okay, this is a vote for the amendment. You're seeing?
Yes.
Schwanzer?
I think it was added, but we written before it said capital improvements, but it doesn't matter. So I'm okay with that.
So yes.
Yeah.
Callender?
Yes.
Simpson?
Yes?
Becker?
Yes.
Souter?
Yes.
Dick is. You ready?
As amended, Schwanneger,
Yes.
Callender,
Yes.
Simpson,
Yes?
Becker,
Yes.
Souter,
Yes.
McBain.
Yes.
Thank you. Ordinance number 14-0-2761, second reading. An ordinance amending ordinance number 06-0-2289 by increasing rates to the Firestone Park swimming pool.
So moved.
Second.
Any question? Deanne?
Callender,
Yes.
Simpson,
Yes?
Becker,
Yes.
Souter.
Yes.
McBain,
Yes.
Schwanneger,
Yes.
Ordinance number 14-0-2762, second reading. An ordinance enacted by the City of Columbiana, hereinafter referred to as the Local Public Agency LPA, to participate in the Bridge Inspection Program, services provided through the Ohio Department of Transportation, PID 97103.
So moved.
Second.
Any questions? Deanne?
Simpson,
Yes?
Becker,
Yes.
Souter.
Yes.
McBain,
Yes.
Schwanneger,
Yes.
Callender,
Yes.
Ordinance number 14-0-2763, second reading. An ordinance authorizing the city manager to enter into a contract with Mercer Lime and Stone Company, 560 Branchton Road, Slippery Rock, PA 16057, for the purchase of lime for the water plant.
So moved. Second.
Any questions on this one? Deanne?
Becker,
Yes.
Souter.
Yes.
McBain,
Yes.
Schwanneger,
Yes.
Callender,
Yes.
Simpson,
Yes?
Ordinance number 14-0-2764, second reading. An ordinance authorizing the city manager to enter into a contract with Leyden Oil Company, 3711 Lee Harps Road, Youngstown, Ohio 44515, for the purchase of gasoline and diesel fuel.
So moved.
Second.
Any questions? Deanne?
Souter,
Yes.
McBain,
Yes.
Schwanneger,
Yes.
Callender,
Yes.
Simpson,
Yes?
Becker,
Yes.
Ordinance number 14-0-2765, second reading. An ordinance authorizing the city manager to enter into a contract with Dunbar Asphalt Products Incorporated, P.O. Box 477, Wheatland, PA 16161, for the purchase of asphalt.
So moved.
Second.
Any questions? Deanne?
McBain,
Yes.
Schwanneger,
Yes.
Callender,
Yes.
Simpson,
Yes?
Becker,
Yes.
Souter,
Yes.
Under new business. Motion to approve Robert's Rules of Order pursuant to Exhibit A.
So moved.
Second.
Any questions on this one? Deanne?
Schwanneger,
Yes.
Callender,
Yes.
Simpson,
Yes?
Becker,
Yes.
Souter,
Yes.
McBain,
Yes.
Okay. I need this motion read, motion to read this next two as emergencies.
So moved.
Second.
Deanne?
Challenger,
Yes.
Simpson,
Yes?
Becker,
Yes.
Souter,
Yes.
McBain,
Yes.
Schoniger.
Yes.
Resolution number 14-R-457, emergency. The emergency resolution authorizing the city manager of the city of Columbiana, hereinafter referred to as the local public agency LPA, to prepare and execute an application for transportation enhancement funds for the Fairfield Avenue sidewalk project in the city of Columbiana.
So moved.
Second. May I make a comment? Back a few years back, I sat in the center chair there and on planning commission, and I had to find a lot of people because they needed to repair their sidewalks, and really irritated me because there was many people in town that didn't have sidewalks. And sitting on planning commission, I had to, as an example, the medical center out there on East Park Avenue has a sidewalk that begins nowhere, goes nowhere, it's all by itself. And I always said that sooner or later, maybe we could put these together, and the Cimarron project, Bittersweet, is a prime example. So finally, we're going to put these sidewalks together. It'll take us a while, but we're going to fill the gaps, which needs to be done. And Lance, I commend you on getting this started.
I tend to agree. I think there are a lot of parts of towns that don't have sidewalks because of past ordinances, because areas were annexed into the city where they hadn't had sidewalks at the time when they were annexed. In many cases, I know a lot of communities, they make homeowners pay a portion or all of the sidewalk when they're put in. If we get to that point, that may be one possible source to have some portion come from the homeowner, because they certainly wouldn't be paying for the entire amount. The second thing is, when I look at the city, there are probably at least two other places that I think are high priorities for sidewalks that we should be looking for funds like this in the future at some time. One of them is Salem Street. Salem Street has a sidewalk going down halfway between Park Avenue and Salem, not Salem, I'm sorry, Pearl Street. Pearl Street. It leads directly to Joshua Dixon. I think there ought to be a sidewalk on one side of the street all the way from Park Avenue to Salem along Pearl. And then the second one, we did run one sidewalk out Pittsburgh Avenue to the school. I think there needs to be a second sidewalk that runs out to Kane Street all the way to the school as well, and that would give opportunities for people in that southern part of town to walk to school instead of other aspects. There's probably other places that are high priorities too. Certainly going out Park Avenue would be a good idea, but those two in particular are the ones that I consider the highest priority.
Are there any questions? Deanne?
Simpson,
Yes.
Becker,
Yes.
Souter,
Yes.
McBain,
Yes.
Schoniger,
Yes.
Challenger,
Yes.
Ordinance number 14-0-2766, emergency. The emergency ordinance amending Columbiana City Ordinance number 86-0-896 for the purpose of confirming the continuation of the self-funded health and life insurance benefit fund established on May 20th, 1986, and providing for a third-party administration, stop-loss insurance carrier, and a life insurance carrier for the city formerly Village of Columbiana.
So moved.
Second.
Before I call for the vote on this, I would just, although we've only had a short amount of time to look at this, I would ask you guys to consider not doing this tonight and further investigating what we can do to compare the fully insured compared to this self-funded number. A $368,000 savings without further delving into it, to me, is not wise to do on short notice, backed up against the wall. I mean, we are reading this as an emergency because we can't even give it 2 votes. We have given much more thought and it's $368,000 of what's proposed. I'm not saying that we need to do that one, but I don't understand what the harm would be in looking at that further, to compare what the self-funded would be if we had a different mix of 25, 75 instead of this 400 per. I think it makes sense to look at that before we just vote for this.
In all honesty, Mayor, we've had an excellent committee. If I could be as eloquent as the chief is, and the committee that worked on this with professionals weighing costs, and somehow you think that this committee in 8 months with professionals that are sitting here that don't sell us the insurance, with their recommendations for the savings. If I'm gonna build a house and they want 4 estimates, I get 3 of them at 200,000, one comes in at 120, I know they're gonna cut costs, they're not gonna build the house. And that's what these gentlemen have found, that they have all confidence in the chief and this committee and Lance. Professionals, and yet you come and you seem to know more about it than they do.
Well, the two, hold on, can the two gentlemen that are the professionals that are sitting here, every one of these is a 400, 800 deductible, except the one that's lower, correct? I mean, I don't claim to know more than you, but it's not even apples and oranges. It's not even a grapefruit, it's like a pineapple.
Come on.
Well, you got 400, 400, 400, 400, and then that one's 2,500. Of course it's gonna cost less. But to say that because it costs less, you gotta throw it out doesn't make sense. It's not comparing it the same as the rest.
Sure. And if we could go back to the 48-month rolling average, that number is inclusive of deductibles, cost shares, everything all in. So that number doesn't discriminate who pays when. That number is the cost of medical and prescription bills.
That's what we've paid.
No, that's what everyone's paid. That's the employees paying deductibles and co-insurance, that's the city paying the balance of the claims, but the medical bills are $960,000 in and of themselves. If we drive the number from United Healthcare down further and simply consume $960,000 in medical bills, if we shift $100,000 to the employees next year, we still won't cover the cost of medical bills, which is fine. That's United Healthcare's problem. But what we found tonight, and what can and what I will say will happen next year is, we will get letters from every other carrier that says, we choose not to quote this year because we are not competitive. And we are then at the mercy of United Healthcare next year for whatever they choose to assign us to make up for the shortfall in claims, what they didn't cover on their admin costs, and what they didn't make in profit. So we'll be doubling that, making the shortfall, and adjusting for where the market would have us.
It just makes, it passes the reasonability test. It makes reasonable, logical sense. This is 4 years of empirical data. This group is a $1.2 million group. You can't, I mean, it's difficult to argue that. So,
I guess I'm not. What I'm arguing is the deductible amount.
Sure, and here's, when you move deductible and you cost share, is what we'll call it, you make that move. The carriers have an internal limit. Typically what we see is the 80-20 rule. 20% of the group drives 80% of the cost. So if we make the deductible $3,000, $6,000, they're only going to cut us a break on the 20% of the group that they think is going to hit that. So you cut off, you end up penalizing the entire group for a savings that they're actuarially just not going to give us credit for.
So if we, this 2,000, 4,000 side of it that you've also proposed under the same plan is not really going to help us any?
No.
Because they're only going to give us on the 20% anyway.
Well, if an employee elects that and they have a bad year, they'll pay $2,000 instead of $400 this year.
But I'm suggesting that if we all elected that, we would have, say, 2,000, 4,000 and not a 400 option. Would that not drive that price down?
In offering a dual option, it reduced the projection by about $60,000. We can look at what it would do if you offered a single plan, but I will turn to the committee's recommendation was to offer the choice, and Chief, if you want to chime in.
I can try and explain it. The reason for offering the choice is we thought that it could be more palatable in terms of getting the levels to where they are in terms of the future negotiations with the different groups that are in there. We thought that it would also give ownership to the people who had the option to elect. If you had a comfort with the risk level of not having the higher cost insurance, you can then experience that reduction and take your chances and hope you stay healthy, and it will cost you less. It will also cost the city less. The other thing we looked at in terms of a $7,500 deductible, we didn't think that was at all feasible. There's no employee in the city that can afford $7,500 if they get hit that way. And I can tell you this, that a person who stops taking care of his employees to save money, it's like a person who stopped the clock to save time. It's not going to save you money.
That's not what I'm saying, but I mean,
We're proposing a $7,500 deductible, Brian.
well, I'm asking on the 2,000, 4,000 side. What percentage of your clients have a $400 deductible?
I would say that.
How many in this room? Well, that's better. Show of
My
hands.
wife's 5,000 deductible.
I'm not trying to. I already know I have no friends up here.
Oh, you do.
But what I'm asking is myself. Every person that works at our company has very similar wages to everyone that works here, and we have a $2,500 deductible, not $400.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm saying if we were to have something that was more reasonable on that side across the board, would that not drive that $1.2 million cost down?
Yes, the answer to that is yes.
So what I'm asking is why is there no other option than just a $400 deductible?
We were tasked with the three things that the committee said, which was to contain cost, preserve benefit, and create something that was sustainable. We can certainly look at other options.
It would only take a day or two to come back with that, would it not? I mean, they already have it. We already know the 2,000, 4,000. What would it be if we just removed that side of it? Their risk drops by that proportion. They should be able to give you that immediately.
If you remove the left side of it.
Mm-hmm.
We have a meeting with the committee tomorrow at 3 p.m. and we can pull and find different options. The motion that, as I understand it, is to go with Mutual Health Services because 5/1 is our renewal, and we're against the wall regardless of which direction we go. If we can agree on an administrator, we can look at other options. But we do have a meeting with the committee tomorrow, and that certainly will be a new development and a discussion that will.
We're in a tough spot after working on this for the months that we have of recommending a change. I mean, it's really not our decision, it's your decision, okay? And we will answer the questions whether it will drive the premium up or drive the premium down, but these are decisions that you all have to make. And this is the work product of lots of meetings.
And I do just want to say that the renewal of the current administrator, the first rendition was issued April 1st and was not worth the paper it was printed on because at least 5 changes were made without the recommendation of the city or us, and a prerequisite to obtain these other quotes is to have the renewal. So the fact that these quotes were even produced in the timely manner, I did want to say that it was not as though we were with the committee sitting on these quotes, and I think that's important.
And they were not going to issue the renewal until April 7th, and the three of us were on a conference call with the current administrator, and we said, what would you like us to tell council tomorrow night when we have some non-binding offers from the current carriers, but we do not have your renewal document?
Gentlemen, let me make a point that may help to put a finer point on this. The committee didn't in any way recommend any level of deductible at all. The comparisons were brought in based on a number that's going to be justified to or funded in some way, whether by the city or by cost sharing or whatever. Those things are to be determined. What the committee recommends is the clear path of what carrier we believe is the best one to go with in terms of a real number and what the actual data suggests. We never recommend as a committee any deductible at any level.
Chief,
Mr. Mayor, if I look at the ordinance, I don't see anything that specifies what the deductibles or anything else is. It's simply an ordinance on a method to proceed with collect roof and so on. I'm talking about the ordinance. I would like to move that we ask you to read the ordinance in its entirety, so that everybody here knows what we're voting on.
I'll second.
We need to vote. We have a motion.
We need a drink of water in a second to read all this. Dan?
This is to read it in its entirety.
Yes.
Becker? Sauer?
Yes.
McBain?
Yes.
Schwanninger?
Yes.
Cronster?
Yes.
Simpson?
Yes.
All right, 14-0-2766. An emergency ordinance amending Columbiana City Ordinance Number 86-0-896 for the purpose of confirming the continuation of the self-funded health and life insurance benefit fund established on May 20th, 1986, and providing for a third-party administration, a stop-loss insurance carrier, and a life insurance carrier for the city formerly Village of Columbiana. Whereas the Columbiana City Council has made a determination that the city shall continue to make health and life insurance benefits available to its employees by way of the continued use of the self-funded health and life insurance benefit fund established on May 20th, 1986, and the provision of third-party administrator services, a stop-loss insurance carrier, and a life insurance carrier. Now therefore be it ordained by the affirmative vote of not less than 5 of the duly elected members of the Council of State of Ohio, Section 1 and 2 of Columbiana Village, now City Ordinance Numbers 86-0-896 shall be and hereby are amended to read Section 1, that there is hereby established a special interest-bearing fund pursuant to the provisions of Section 570.12 of the Ohio Revised Code, which shall be entitled the Self-Funded Health and Life Insurance Benefit Fund, and said fund shall, until terminated by law, be continuously used for the purpose of receiving and dispersing monies appropriated by the council of the city, formerly Village of Columbiana, on a regular basis for the purpose of paying the life and health insurance benefits set forth and established by virtue of the terms of the contract by, between, and among the city, formerly Village of Columbiana Mutual Health Services as third-party administrators, United States Fire Insurance Company, and Consumers Life Insurance as the life insurance carrier. Section 2, that the city formerly village manager shall be and hereby is authorized to take any and all steps necessary to the implementation of this amending ordinance and the intention of the city council with regard thereto, and in so doing, the city formerly village manager shall, in accordance with the provisions of Section 5705.12 of the Ohio Revised Code, obtain and maintain the approval of the Bureau of Inspection and Supervision of the public officers of the state of Ohio with regard to the establishment and continuation of said fund. Section 2, that in the event that any of the provisions of this ordinance shall be found to be invalid or unenforceable by a court of competent jurisdiction at a later date, the invalidity or unenforceability of such provision shall not affect the validity or enforceability of the remaining provisions of this ordinance. Section 3, that any ordinance, resolution, section, subsection, or part thereof, which may be in conflict with the provision of this ordinance shall be and hereby is repealed to the extent of such conflict. Section 4, that this ordinance shall be published in short form in accordance with the provisions of Section 6.15B of the amended charter of the City of Columbiana, Ohio. Section 4, that this ordinance shall be deemed to be an emergency measure necessary to the preservation of the health, safety, morals, and general welfare of the City of Columbiana and the inhabitants thereof, by reason of the immediate need to make provisions through which and by which health and life insurance benefits may continue to be made available to the employees of the City of Columbiana, and as such, this ordinance shall take effect and be in full force and virtue immediately upon passage.
So from what I hear and read in the ordinance, the questions of deductibles and all those things aren't contained in the ordinance and can be changed with whatever agreement and however we do that at some time in the very near future, I would hope. So we can look at those options and consider them, but this essentially provides us with a framework for going forward and doing that.
I have a question. The previous ordinance established a stop-loss carrier. Do we have a stop-loss carrier?
Yes.
A stop-loss carrier is
United,
Medical Mutual?
no, Mutual Health Services, the TPA, United States Fire Insurance Company, is the stop loss provider and Consumers Life Insurance.
Okay, I think it needs to be clarified. I had written it out so that the stop loss carrier was identified and the life insurance carrier was identified.
Yes.
No, they're separate entities.
They are.
Okay, this needs to be fixed. I mean, in terms, it needs to be amended to show what you intend. If it's your intention to establish Company X as a stop loss carrier, that needs to be done. And the life insurance carrier needs to be identified as such. When this was printed up, someone missed that. So, the ordinance needs to be amended to clearly set forth the stop loss carrier and the life insurance carrier. We know the third-party administrator.
Yes.
Okay.
I'll make a motion, we amend it to include the names of the stop loss and the,
To identify them as such.
identify them as such. Yes.
Second.
Thank you very much. Yeah.
Souter,
Yes.
McBain,
Yes.
Schwank,
Yes.
Callender,
Yes.
Simpson,
Yes.
Becker,
Yes.
Any other comments?
Chief, may I ask a question?
Sure.
Excuse me, got a frog in my throat there. Tell me again the makeup of your board that worked on this.
The members of the committee are set up this way. You have one representative from the ASME bargaining unit. You have one representative from the OPBA bargaining unit. You have one non-union representative. You have one management representative. And then in the event of a tie, the city manager is the tiebreaker. And that's how it's formed.
And if I remember correctly, you said that it was a unanimous yes vote to go with
At the end, it
this?
was a unanimous vote. We believe that the path is clear because the deductible, regardless of the deductible, you justify to a number regardless of how you fund to that number. You fund that number by the use of deductibles and co-insurance and all the other things. The numbers are what they are, and that's what the recommendation we made was based on our belief that this was the best and the most clear path for that goal.
Thank you, Mayor. I appreciate the fact that you're much more knowledgeable on this than I am. I've always, when I've pulled with insurance, I went to an agent because I'm an auto mechanic. Then again, you are comparing your business with non-union employees to a business of union employees. And I'm not saying that our union employees ask for too much, because I don't think they do, okay? But I know if we come back to these gentlemen that they're here from the city, went back tomorrow and told their employees that we were going to charge a $7,500 copay or initial payment, they're not going to be happy. Therefore, I think the way this ordinance is amended should work for Columbiana. I move we call for the question.
There are no others, go ahead.
I'd like to say something.
Mr.
Schwank, I was reacting to you getting upset because you want to review it a little bit more. There's nothing wrong with that. That's what got you guys in trouble in the first place. Take your time. Take your time. If he wants to look at it, he's the mayor, he's allowed. Can't you be gracious enough to give him that extra time?
We've been working on this 8 months.
I understand. He's looking at it right
We've
now.
had it- we've
And
had
we
it.
just answered some more questions with these guys. So he had questions. So why couldn't you extend the credit to him and say, okay, maybe we need more time? What's a week?
Because the deadline is to renew it, we can't wait a week.
We're gonna do it tonight, this final day?
We'd have to have a special meeting if we didn't.
So we're gonna repeat what we did last time to get us in a problem, right?
No,
We're just gonna do it because that's what we're gonna do.
no, we've worked on this 8 months and we have the answers that we want.
Point of order, I've asked to call for
We
the
passed a
question.
motion to call, vote on it.
Go ahead.
McBain? This
Yes.
is as amended.
As President, yes.
Schwank?
Yes.
Callender?
Yes.
Simpson?
Yes.
Becker?
Yes.
Sauer?
Yes.
The only last thing I would say now that that is all over is you can paint me a fool all you want. But 4 years ago, we first started having this discussion of needing to switch our health insurance. And I was laughed out of here, as was Mr. Bishop sitting in the audience. And I think tonight you just made the switch that we should have made 4 years ago. I disagree with council not being involved in the proposition of what benefit levels there are. That said, I'm still happy that a switch was made. I don't think from a cost standpoint that it is the wisest thing to not review $360,000 there. But I'm glad we did what we proposed 4 years ago, Bob. I'm sorry you're sitting on that side when we did it. Thank you.
I'm happy to.
Can I, Lance, can I make a comment? I've observed this and recently I was going over old ordinances from back in the ancient days when I was the mayor. I realized it was the Stone Age. But a point of clarity, when you get into legal jargon sometimes, ordinances should be numbered as 14, which would be the year, O, which says it would be an ordinance. And then the number, tonight brings it to mind because we have a resolution 14R, which when you're reading this, that differentiates it between an ordinance and a resolution. And back, I noted back then, I saw that it was an O versus a 0. So, not a big deal, but maybe we might want to correct that.
I'd like to make a comment. I was on council when we were self-funded. I believe we're still self-funded. Is that correct? Would you explain what was gained here?
I think we just lost $400,000.
No, you said you were happy that.
I think we just switched carriers,
said
did we not?
4 years
I think
ago.
4 years ago, if you look at our costs, we were not at 1.2 million.
Could we please have one person at a time speak? This is ridiculous.
Would you like to come to the microphone?
No, I'm done.
Council comments? Actually, I'm sorry, I think we need to have a motion to give Lance the authority to hire Harrington, Hoppy, and Mitchell.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Deanne?
Schwank?
Yes.
Callender?
Yes.
Simpson?
Yes.
Becker?
Yes.
Sauer?
Yes.
McBain?
Yes.
Council comments? Any motion to adjourn?
I took the time out this week to run off, some of the city charters are off for you, they're here. If you need to, take the time to look some of those over, make yourself acquaintable with them, so that you'll have us, increase your knowledge.
I'd also like to say that I've been spending maybe too much time and my eyes burning, reading computers, reading the information that the mayor sent me on an architectural review boards. It's not forgotten. It's a situation where I myself am trying to become more and more knowledgeable. And it's a lot of reading. Of course, Mary's enjoying it, I'm sure.
Go ahead.
Hey, Wagner, 7th Street. I just wanted to ask, are you getting other bids on the water? Or are you just getting a new bid from Arcadia?
No, Arcadia is the engineer
They're
who
the
is
engineer.
designing the project, and they put out the bid documents to contractors for the actual construction. And that's what we'll be getting, are the bids on the construction of the new plant.
So you have to stay with Arcadia then?
We don't have to, but it would cost us millions to change.
We're deep enough that there will be the engineering.
And then the next one, is the electric meeting still on next week on April 22nd?
I believe so.
Yes.
Okay, I don't see it on the website, the City of Columbiana website. I see a date of April 28th for the city parks or something, and also the May 6th meeting, but I don't see you advertising this electric meeting. And I just wondered if you would please advertise it so
Absolutely.
that people could come.
Can you do that also, Katie?
Pardon me?
Thank you.
I have a question for you. I was at a meeting where the electric superintendent Lance offered to come down to your house and find out why the electric bill's so high. Did they ever finish that, or did you
I've
find?
had electricians at my house, I've had heating ventilation people. I told you that when the electric went out, for 2.5 hours, when it was 2 degrees, or 5 degrees below zero, then I only lost 4 degrees, and my temperature went from 72 to 68. It's not my
I
house,
understand
it's the rate.
that you don't want them to come and find out what's drawing the electric.
There's nothing wrong with my electric, but possibly they will come. I've had electric heat in my home for 35 years. This is my 3rd home. My electric usage is comparable to all the homes that I've had for around 1,200 square foot house.
I'm just
So-
asking, would you be acceptable to let Doug come down and put meters on things? See if
Yeah,
there's-
and I want him to do that at some point, but that isn't
At
the
what point
issue.
could he do that, so we could find out?
The issue is the rate. I'm not the only person. Tony Dolan also has a home my size. His electric bill is about the same. And there's another person.
We'll
on
discuss
it.
that next Tuesday.
Right. So I just wanted to know if you could advertise that, and also, in case people do come, if there's 3,000 electric water customers in Columbiana, and people want to come, is there any way that you would consider, like maybe getting a high school auditorium where they can seat 300 or 400 people, rather than to have people come here and be turned away? If you would just consider that. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other council comments? Need a motion to adjourn.
I don't know what it is.
That'd be my suggestion about seeing it or making much about it.
To me, that makes the most sense. There's really one like we're talking about this.
My sister's gonna go down.
Very true.
I appreciate that. My neighbors were like, oh, coming. I mean, it was right now.
I got the perfect guy. Look at that, but he's not on his down. I can understand
That's the request. If anybody is intelligent enough to make this work, I think I understand that policy, I understand all that. That's learning. I want to go fix it. I don't want to be. Where are you at? same street, but with South Main Street.
What we've done is do all the time is they clean it out, stand the water up, and get really thirsty. No reason to
have a concrete fencing alongside.
what's going on. And then fill up all the way in. But the culvert itself it's been in this long for the last 3 years. No, it's that water here.
Doing just fine.
It's got to be.
You know, people ask me how I know this is one place in my life where I don't have to make decisions about it. Is it everywhere else in my life I have to make the decisions? Pat did do it.
I agree with you last week. I'll call you. I'll call you. I'll call you. That's all right. Covered my That's why I really am. Everybody is. I think that's what she's talking about. Everything I built up to last year. There, I quit. Not big enough. But this would be.
I looked at.
But I also see that your name.
It's only like 10 feet over that thing, it's just one of those things that push it, you don't mind. Just a hand one with a ball on the end. Because I don't think you need an auger out there, if you just. Afterwards?
Yeah, recently. He was, we might.